Desire burns in us like a fever, a yearning that we have never learned to understand. The ache is so subtle at first, like the faintest whisper at the edge of sleep, but it grows. It stretches its tendrils into everything. Our waking moments become their vessel, tethered to a world that moves in constant effort. And yet, the more we chase it, the more elusive it becomes. Like the flickering flame of a candle caught in the wind, its glow only deepens the surrounding darkness. We are made of this hunger. We are born from it and live in it, but it is an illusion, as hollow as the void. Desire deceives us, and yet we do not know how to exist without it. In every moment, our hands reach for what will never stay, like grasping at sand as it slips between our fingers. And in our grasping, we never pause to see the futility of the chase. Each step forward is only an echo of the first. There is no real forward motion, only a spinning in place, a repetition that mirrors the ancient rhythms of suffering. The suffering, it comes from wanting. It is the fruit born of that eternal longing that shapes every aspect of our lives. Desire holds us in its grip, suffocating us with its weight. We dream of something better, something different, something more, and in this longing we find our misery. It is not the thing itself that wounds us, but the endless pursuit of it, as though by chasing it we might escape the truth of our own condition. We are never satisfied. Even when we reach what we thought we wanted, the hunger remains. The satisfaction is fleeting, a mere momentary cessation before the hunger returns, sharper and deeper than before. And so we chase again. We believe we will one day find it, the thing that will bring us peace. But it is a myth, a comforting illusion we tell ourselves, because without it, the pain of life becomes unbearable. We do not want to face that there is no end to this chase, no final satisfaction. All is empty, all is dust. We, the architects of our own misery, cannot help but build our lives around this yearning. The world itself offers nothing more than distractions, glittering trinkets meant to placate our desires, which only feed them further. It is a vast machine that churns in endless cycles, giving us glimpses of pleasure only to pull it away. And yet, we continue to spin the wheel, believing that, this time, perhaps, we will find something lasting. We are as the moth to the flame, burning in the pursuit of something that will never truly ignite. The world promises us fulfillment, that if we acquire the right possessions, if we attain the right status, if we conquer the right fears, we will be whole. But this promise is an illusion, a veil over the truth of what we are. The more we possess, the more we are possessed. The more we achieve, the more we realize how much we have lost. And in our striving, we lose the very essence of ourselves. There is a quietness that follows this realization, one that cannot be called peace. It is not the noise of ambition, nor the soothing balm of hope. It is the stillness of understanding the painful clarity that comes when we finally see through the veil. The mind, once trapped in its endless scramble for more, stops. It halts not out of choice, but because it has seen the futility of its own effort. And in this halting, there is a strange liberation. But do not mistake it for happiness. This is not the resolution of sorrow. This is the sober recognition of it. The recognition that the pursuit of desire is not merely a cycle of seeking and failing, but the very essence of existence itself. It is the suffering that marks every moment, the cruel hand that shapes the contours of time. To look upon this suffering is not to transcend it, but to stand in it, fully aware of its weight, its sharpness, its unyielding nature. When we stop, when we pause in the quietness of this realization, we see the world in its true form. The noise of modernity falls away. The ceaseless clamor of progress, of advancement, of improvement becomes a hollow echo. What we thought we needed was never truly necessary. What we thought we lacked was never absent. All that was needed was the acceptance that there is no escape from desire. It is the very nature of life. It is woven into the fabric of being itself, and to run from it is to run from what we are. This, then, is the crux of the human condition. We are trapped by the very thing that gives us life. It is the will, the force that compels us to reach, to strive, to become. But this will is a double-edged sword. It grants us the power to act, to shape our lives, and yet it is the source of our suffering. for it is in the wanting that we are bound. And it is in the wanting that we become aware of the emptiness that lies beneath. Each moment of fulfillment is a fleeting illusion, a brief flicker in the darkness before the hunger returns. We are forever caught in the web of our own making, unable to escape, unable to find the solace we so desperately seek. The more we try, the more it eludes us. The more we stretch our hands towards it, the further it slips from our grasp. It is not failure, then, to see this truth. It is simply the condition of being. To understand this is not to abandon desire, but to recognize it for what it truly is. A fire that will never be quenched. A thirst that cannot be sated. To be human is to be caught in this cycle, and there is no escape from it. Not in achievement, not in renunciation, not in hope, not in despair. There is only the acceptance of it. The stillness that comes when we stop fighting. And yet, there is something strange in this surrender. Not a peace, but a recognition of what is. The struggle fades, not because we have triumphed, but because we have stopped fighting. We stand in the presence of truth, not as victors, but as witnesses to our own condition. And in this witnessing, there is a momentary release, not of joy, but of relief. For it is not the object of desire that binds us, but the ceaseless effort to possess it. To cease struggling is not to cease existing, but to cease clinging. It is to step back and see the truth of desire not as something to be achieved or avoided, but as something that simply is. The fire that burns within us is not something to put out, but something to recognize for what it is. It will always burn. And we, too, will burn with it. But in that fire, we are given the opportunity to see clearly, to let go of the false hope that one day, in some distant future, we will be free of it. There is no freedom in the absence of desire. There is no salvation in the cessation of will. There is only the truth of what is, in this very moment, in this very breath. Desire is not something to escape, but something to know. It is the flame that lights the path, even as it consumes us. We are the flame and the moth, forever bound, forever caught. And in this, we find the strange solace of clarity. The truth is not a balm. It does not soothe the wounds of the soul, for it reveals that the wounds are not wounds at all, but the very structure of being. To recognize this is not to be freed from suffering, but to embrace it, not as a curse, but as the mark of life itself. Suffering is not a mistake. It is not an aberration. It is the reality of existence. And in this recognition, we come to understand that the very desire we seek to escape is the source of our being. It is what we are. And in that understanding, there is a quiet, a stillness, not of hope, but of surrender. A surrender to what is, in its most naked, undeniable form. In the quiet aftermath of surrender, we confront the essence of our existence, the inescapable truth that binds us to the suffering of this world. We had believed, for a time, that fulfillment would free us, that the end of our striving would bring peace. But the peace we sought was never meant to be. It is not peace that lies beyond the horizon of desire, but only more of the same. The cycles never cease. The hunger never ends. We are not condemned because we suffer, but because we fail to recognize that suffering is not something to escape, but something that is a constant, a rhythm that underlies all things. We labor under the delusion that we can transcend suffering, that we can rise above the abyss of our desires. But in truth, this very striving is the source of our sorrow. The will to overcome is itself an extension of the will to have, to possess, to conquer. And so, we never rest. We push forward, ever deeper into the thorns of our own desires, believing that at the end of the path there lies a moment of stillness. But the moment is always just out of reach. The quiet we long for is not a reward for our efforts, but a byproduct of renouncing the illusion that it can ever be attained. And so we find ourselves standing, not at the precipice of some great transcendence, but at the edge of a quiet, deep abyss. It is a void we cannot escape, a dark pool of truth that does not promise salvation, but only the raw clarity of what we are, creatures bound to an insatiable will that drives us forward in ceaseless pursuit of that which cannot be caught. Our existence is a perpetual becoming, never a state of being. We are like the wind, moving endlessly, yet never arriving, always running toward something just beyond the horizon. But that horizon never closes in. We live in the motion, not the destination. This movement, this ceaseless striving, is the very nature of our being. The moment we begin to stop, the moment we look upon the futility of our desires with unflinching clarity, the body, the mind, the will all recoil in horror. The truth, as always, is unbearable. It is too vast, too silent, too still for the restless spirit. We are creatures made of motion, and so we are tortured by stillness. We cannot know the quiet of the moment, because we are always reaching, always yearning for something outside of us, as though our peace were to be found in something we do not yet possess. But the tragedy, the ultimate tragedy, is that even when we find what we were seeking, even when the object of our desire is finally held in our grasp, it is never enough. It cannot be enough. The mind, forever unsatisfied, moves on to the next thing, the next promise of salvation. And so we are trapped in an endless cycle, not of becoming, but of perpetual becoming, without any real fulfillment, without any true peace. We are like a book that never reaches its conclusion, each page turned only to reveal the next. The novel of our lives is a never-ending saga, and we, the protagonists, will never be free from the struggle to complete it. In this, there is no failure, no triumph, only the motion. The deep, eternal motion that carries us through the days, through the years, through the endless cycle of desire and frustration. We reach and we fall, we climb and we slip. And each time we rise, the horizon only shifts, moving further away. This is not a punishment. This is the condition of life itself. It is not our struggle that defines us, but our failure to see that there is no end to the struggle. The very act of striving is the suffering. The more we seek to end it, the deeper it becomes. This is the trap we do not see. We believe that suffering is something to overcome, something to rise above, something to defeat. But the very notion of overcoming is what binds us to it. It is not that we have failed to transcend, but that the very effort to transcend is what keeps us from ever knowing what lies beyond. For to know the stillness of life is not to seek it, not to chase it, but to simply be with it, to stand in the midst of it all, not as a conqueror, not as a seeker, but as a witness. And in this witnessing, something profound happens. We are not liberated, we are not saved, but we are allowed to see clearly and without delusion that all is as it is, and that this very isness is enough, not as a moment of joy, but as a recognition of truth. There is no hope for something better, no longing for something different. There is only the stillness of being, the simple awareness that all we have, all we are, is here. And it is enough not because it brings fulfillment, but because it is free from the need for anything else. To accept this is not to resign ourselves in defeat, but to come to terms with the fundamental nature of reality. The world as it is, with all its impermanence, its cruelty, its fleeting beauty, is enough. Not in the sense that it satisfies, but in the sense that it reveals the futility of the search. It is a mirror held up to our deepest yearnings, reflecting back the truth we have been too afraid to see. And in that reflection, there is a strange peace, a peace not born of achievement, not born of fulfillment, but born of surrender. We are like children chasing shadows, each new attempt only bringing us closer to the realization that the shadow cannot be grasped. But this, too, is part of the process. This is how we learn, not through victory, not through success, but through the repeated realization that what we chase is always already gone. And in that realization, there is release. The chase slows, not because we have found the object of our desire, but because we have finally understood that it was never meant to be caught. And so, we stand at the edge of the abyss, not in despair, but in quiet understanding. We are not here to conquer, to rise above, to transcend. We are here to witness the play of life, the dance of desire, and to see it for what it truly is, an illusion that we, as actors, cannot escape. But in the seeing, we are free, not in the way the world promises freedom, but in the way that only the deepest clarity can offer. We are free to stop, free to stand, free to be. free to know that the struggle is not failure, but the essence of life itself. And in this, there is a strange relief, not in victory, but in the knowing of what is. To live is to suffer. This is the truth we cannot escape, and yet we are born with the illusion that it can be avoided. We are taught, from the moment of our birth, to seek pleasure and to flee from pain. We are encouraged to believe that fulfillment will lead us to some kind of resolution, that satisfaction will bring an end to the restless ache inside us. And yet, as we progress through life, we come to realize that all the striving, all the effort, all the endless striving to reach a place where suffering is vanquished is itself the source of our torment. It is the desperate effort to outrun what cannot be outrun, the futile belief that satisfaction exists somewhere beyond the horizon, just out of our reach. We spend our lives clutching at the illusion that we can escape suffering by obtaining something, by achieving something, by becoming someone. But each moment of possession, each fleeting moment of achievement, only intensifies the gnawing hunger for more. It is not that we are ungrateful for what we have, but that the very nature of desire compels us to look beyond what is, to see only the thing we have yet to grasp. The more we get, the more we realize how little it satisfies. The more we achieve, the more we feel the emptiness, the silence that follows. And so we continue to chase, not because we are unaware of the futility, but because we are afraid of the truth that there is no end, no final fulfillment, no escape from the void. This is the great illusion, the lie that the world tells us that there is something more, something beyond, something better. And we are all caught in it, trapped in the delusion that fulfillment is a destination we can reach, that happiness is a prize we can earn. But the truth is that there is no destination, no final goal. There is only the eternal wheel of desire, spinning ever faster, drawing us deeper into its web. We seek and we are never sated. We strive and we are never satisfied. The more we accomplish, the more we realize that we were always reaching for something that was never really there. What, then, is the purpose of life? What is the meaning of all this striving, all this suffering, if nothing ever truly changes? The purpose is not to achieve, not to arrive, but to endure the desire, to endure the suffering, to endure the endless yearning that defines us. For it is in this endurance that we come to understand the truth of our condition. We are not here to conquer the world, to control it, to mold it to our will. We are here to experience it, to witness it, to feel the full weight of its sorrow and its beauty. To be human is to be caught in the flow of this eternal cycle, to be forever pulled between the desire for more and the painful realization that more will never be enough. There is, of course, a temptation to seek refuge in detachment, in renunciation, to escape the grip of desire by withdrawing from the world. This is the path of the ascetic, the mystic, the monk who seeks peace by turning away from life. But this, too, is another illusion. For even in detachment, the desire still lurks. It does not disappear because we turn our back on the world. It simply shifts, finding new forms in our minds, in our thoughts, in our very desire to be free of desire. We cannot escape it. There is no retreat. There is no sanctuary. To run from the world is to run from ourselves. The world itself is a mirror, reflecting the depths of our own inner turmoil. We cannot change it. We cannot alter the fundamental nature of reality. All we can do is look upon it with clarity, with understanding, and allow the recognition of its futility to seep into us, like a poison that purges us of the illusions we have been taught to cling to. The desire to transcend, to escape, to find meaning, these are the very things that bind us to the wheel. To renounce them is not to find peace, but to enter into a deeper conflict, a conflict with the very nature of being. And so we remain, caught in the web of our own making. There is no freedom in the world, and there is no freedom in the mind. There is only the endless dance of desire, the endless cycle of striving and failing, of achieving and losing. We are not free because we are not meant to be free. The human condition is one of bondage, of being bound to the will that drives us, that propels us forward into the void. It is not the bondage of chains, but the bondage of the mind, the endless yearning, the futile hope that one day we will find the answer. And yet, there is a strange grace in this bondage. There is something deeply humbling in the realization that we are not the masters of our own fate. We are not the authors of our story. We are the characters, caught in a drama that unfolds according to forces far beyond our control. There is a freedom in surrendering to this truth, in letting go of the illusion that we can shape the world, that we can shape ourselves. For in this surrender, we are allowed to see the world as it truly is, not as something to be conquered, not as something to be changed, but as something to be accepted. Not with resignation, but with the quiet acceptance that comes when we stop fighting, when we stop pretending that we can control what is beyond us. In this quiet acceptance, there is no joy, no triumph, no peace in the conventional sense. There is only the profound release of the tension that comes from wanting, from striving. The suffering does not cease, but it becomes bearable. It becomes part of the fabric of life, a natural consequence of existence. It is not something to escape, but something to endure. And in that endurance, we find a strange, fleeting form of peace. Not the peace of the world, not the peace of victory, but the peace that comes from knowing that the struggle itself is the essence of what it means to be alive. There is no transcendence here, no elevation of the soul. There is only the quiet truth that suffering is not a mistake, not an aberration, but the very foundation of life. And once we see this, once we accept it, we are freed not from suffering, but from the illusion that we can be free of it. The will that drives us, the hunger that propels us, the desire that binds us, all of it is part of the great unending cycle of existence. We cannot escape it, and in truth, we are not meant to. We are meant to see it, to know it, to live it. And in this living, we come to understand the nature of the world and of ourselves. We are not beings who are here to achieve, to conquer, to become. We are beings who are here to witness, to endure, to experience. In our suffering, we come to know the truth of life, not as a paradise, not as a destination, but as a journey that has no end, no resolution, no finality. And in this journey, we find not peace, not triumph, but the quiet, relentless rhythm of existence, the rhythm of desire, of striving, of being. And in that rhythm, we find our place, not as conquerors, not as masters, but as humble participants in the great dance of life. And so, we arrive at the end, not as victors, not as those who have found the key to life, but as weary travelers who have come to understand that there is no destination. The horizon does not close, and the path does not end. The very idea of an end, of completion, is itself a mirage, a fleeting shadow cast by the mind's desire for closure. There is no release from the wheel of desire, for to desire is to live, and to live is to suffer, not as punishment, but as the necessary condition of existence. We are not meant to be whole. Wholeness is a lie we tell ourselves in our search for peace. We are torn, fragmented, our souls stretched thin between the pool of what we wish to become and the suffocating reality of what we are. This tension is the very marrow of our existence. We are beings in flux, constantly yearning for something that always lies beyond us. And in this yearning, we come to know what it means to be. The world, in all its beauty and cruelty, remains untouched by our struggle. It does not offer salvation, nor does it promise release. It simply is. And we, in our fleeting moments of clarity, realize that to seek to change it is to labor under an illusion. There is no redemption in the world, nor in ourselves, because redemption is itself a construct of the will, a fiction we fashion to soothe our fractured hearts. But the world is not a fiction, nor are we. We are, simply, creatures born of desire, bound to it, chained to the endless rhythm of wanting and failing, of striving and falling short. And in this falling short, in this constant gap between what is and what we long for, we find the cruel beauty of our existence. It is not an existence of fulfillment. It is an existence of becoming, always on the edge of something, but never truly reaching it. It is the agony of thirst, never to be quenched, and yet it is the very thirst that sustains us. The will that drives us forward, that makes us yearn for something beyond, is the same will that defines our lives. It is the paradox of existence, the great contradiction that shapes us. We are both the prisoner and the jailer, caught in a cycle we cannot escape. And in this paradox, we find not liberation, but understanding. To see this, to understand that the very essence of our suffering is rooted in the will itself, is not to be freed from it, but to become intimate with it. To know it, not as an enemy, but as the force that moves us, that compels us to live, to strive, to suffer. We cannot rid ourselves of it, and so we must learn to live with it. To live not in defiance, but in acceptance, not in resignation, but in recognition. We do not conquer the will, nor do we transcend it. We simply learn to stand with it, as a part of ourselves, as an integral part of the world we inhabit. There is a strange comfort in this acceptance, not in the sense of joy or relief, but in the quiet, unspoken understanding that there is no escaping. The world is not broken, and we are not failures for feeling its weight. The world simply is, and we, in our fleeting moments of clarity, see it as it truly is, a vast, unyielding expanse of being, forever in motion, forever in flux, like the waves of an ocean that crash against the shore only to retreat again, never still, never at rest. This is the rhythm of existence, the eternal pulse of life. And in this rhythm we find the strange peace that only comes from surrender. Not the surrender of the will, but the surrender to the truth of what we are. We are not separate from the world, but a part of it, as much a product of desire as the world itself. Our striving, our suffering, our endless reaching it is all part of the great dance of existence. There is no separation, no distance between us and the world. We are not standing outside of it, looking in. We are in it, as it is in us, bound together by the same forces that shape both the sky and the earth. The desire that drives us is not a curse. It is not an enemy to be defeated, but a force to be understood, to be felt deeply and fully. In the depth of this understanding, we find that there is no need for escape. There is no need for salvation, for redemption, for transcendence. The search for these things is itself the illusion. We are not here to transcend, but to witness. We are here to bear witness to the world as it is, to the endless dance of desire, of will, of suffering. And in this witnessing, we are not elevated, we are not saved, but we are freed not from desire, but from the illusion that we can escape it. This is the truth that we must face, not with bitterness, not with anger, but with the quiet resignation of one who understands that life is not a puzzle to be solved, nor a problem to be fixed. It is simply what it is, a perpetual becoming, a never-ending rhythm, a dance of light and shadow, of longing and fulfillment, of joy and sorrow. And in this dance, we find not resolution, but understanding, not peace, but acceptance. To live is to be bound to the will, to the endless yearning, to the ceaseless striving. And in this, we are made whole, not because we have achieved anything, but because we have come to see that the striving itself is all there is. We are not here to conquer, to rise above, to find peace. We are here to experience, to witness, to endure. And in this endurance, we come to know the truth that lies beneath the surface, the truth of our suffering, our desire, our will, not as something to escape, but as something to embrace. In the end, we are not meant to transcend the world, to escape from it, to rise above it. We are meant to live in it, to feel it fully, to suffer it with clarity, to experience it without illusion. And in this experience, we find not salvation, but a strange, quiet peace. Not in the absence of suffering, but in the acceptance of it. For the will, in all its consuming force, is not the enemy. It is the very essence of life. And in this, we are made whole, not because we are free of desire, but because we have come to understand that we were never meant to be. We are simply here, caught in the flow of being, ever reaching, ever becoming, and forever knowing that the end is not in sight. And this endless becoming is the truth that lies before us.